Unlike most companies, we design our keyboards with no budget in mind. We try to make them as good as we can, and the price is set based on the manufacturing costs, which are usually pretty high because we made no compromises. But that got us thinking, what would the cheapest ergonomic keyboard be like? Would it be worth buying, or would we rage throw it out of the window? To answer those questions, we hopped into Amazon, bought the cheapest ergonomic keyboard we could find, and tested it for you, so you don't have to. So this is the Perixx Periboard 413B wired membrane ergonomic keyboard, as stated in the box. The box also highlights that it has palm rests, ergonomic design, will be the judges of that, and a 1.8 meter or 6-foot cable. It's currently $34.99 US on Amazon.com with ANSI English US Legends. We bought the Spanish ISO version, which is a bit more expensive, 39.99 euros on Amazon Spain. Cool. So once you open the box, you'll find the keyboard wrapped in a very special bubble plastic and a small manual. Great.
No, I don't.
Cool. The first impression is that even though the box says mini, this is actually a pretty chunky keyboard. That's probably because of the split layout and these huge palm rests and tenting, which makes it even wider, even though it's considered a 75% keyboard. It's also fairly heavy at 790 grams, which makes it feel sturdy, even though it's mostly made out of plastic. But let's not jump into conclusions. Let's summon Miquel, our head of marketing and keyboard connoisseur, who can tell us a bit more about the build quality.
Oh, hi! I must say that for a keyboard that costs $35 US, it feels pretty solid. The plastic finish is what you would expect, and it's okay for the most part, until you place your hands on the palm rest. That's the little bit that feels more plasticky because your palms are touching it. On the other hand, the keycaps feel quite nice. Let me pull one out. They are single-shot PVT with the legends painted on top. You can notice the legends if you slide your nails on them, but they are well done and you can't easily scratch them. Other not-so-cheap ergonomic keyboards use ABS keycaps with stickers on them, which don't look as nice, will wear out much sooner, and don't have such a nice texture. Another interesting difference is that the keycaps are OEM profile. Compared to the flat profile keycaps that are normally used in these cheap ergonomic keyboards, each row has a different height, which makes it much easier to reach to the top row. That said, even though the keycaps are nice, they feel and sound really hollow when you type on them, especially the spacebar. Let me demonstrate it. This is probably due to the fact that this is a membrane keyboard, so there are no mechanical switches under the keys, but rubber domes instead. It's not the worst though, you get a decent travel distance and good tactile feedback. I also wanted to point out a little nice touch. They've taken advantage of the space here in the middle to place 3 LEDs to tell you when you have activated caps lock, function lock, or scroll lock. Finally, on a personal note, I want to be clear that the keyboard feels a little bit old school in its aesthetics. It is very utilitarian.
Okay, we get it. We get it. Go on. Me. Hey, you can also bring this with you. Okay, the build quality is fairly acceptable given the price point, and you probably won't buy it for how it looks. So the real question is, how good is it as an ergonomic keyboard? As we mentioned before, it has a fixed split layout, which helps align your hands and forearms and reduces ulnar deviation, which occurs when you bend your wrists outwards while typing on a normal keyboard. It also has tenting, which helps with hand pronation. When your palms are facing downward, the bones on your arms cross, pinching the muscles in your wrist and sometimes reducing blood circulation. This doesn't have a lot of tenting, 5.77 degrees to be precise, but even a little bit can help a lot.
Really? Yes!
Finally, we have the chunky palm rest, which should let you keep your wrists at a neutral angle and avoid wrist extension. That's when your wrists bend upward to reach the keyboard. On that note, the keyboard's legs at the back give it a positive tilt, which is the opposite of what you really want, which is a negative tilt. For that, these legs should actually be here. But enough of me talking. Let's bring back Miquel, our official keyboard tester who has been using it for a while.
Oh, hi! Hello there again.
Hi, Mick.
I must say, I wasn't very excited to try this keyboard. I normally use the Defy, which is columnar, and the keys are arranged in columns instead of staggered rows. And I can put, each half wherever I want, split apart so, my shoulders are aligned with my hands and my wrists. And also it has these really nice palm pads compared to this more hard palm rest. Finally, I was also concerned about how tall it is. It's a bit taller than the Defy, especially because it has the 5 degrees angle. Surprisingly, it's quite comfortable to type on. The split is wide enough to place your hands well aligned with your arms, and the tenting adds extra comfort. And the palm rest, even though it's hard, it makes up for this additional height. In the end, if you put the Defy at 5 degrees and this keyboard at 5 degrees, they are almost the same height. Maybe if you don't want tenting, then this keyboard might not be for you. But this tenting, I think, is a good balance between a normal keyboard and a slightly tented keyboard. Of course, I would never swap this for my Dygma Defy, but at the same time, the Defy costs over 10 times what this keyboard costs.
That's a great point. And how do you explain the price difference? And what are the things that you say justifies paying over $350 for this keyboard?
Well, there are many factors that play in the price difference. For example, the materials. Plastic is much cheaper than aluminum or metal. And even amongst plastic, there are many levels of quality. Having premium keycaps, mechanical switches, magnetical silicone palm pads, all that adds up. Another important factor is the scale of production. An ergonomic keyboard like this can be mass-produced using economies of scale, which makes everything cheaper. The molds, the components, the assembly. However, the most advanced ergonomic keyboards like the Dygma Defy are still a niche products and they're produced in very small quantities. It also connects with the cost of R&D. It's not the same to design a complex product that has never been made before than building something that's been tested, proven and manufactured billions of times. And finally, there's the cost of electronics. A fully programmable keyboard that's wireless, split and has LEDs has a lot of expensive chips, while a keyboard like this usually only has one chip and maybe a small microcontroller for those LEDs. And precisely that programmability is something that I've missed the most while using this keyboard. It took me a while to get used to not having access to my customized layout and layers. After using the Dygma Race and the Dygma Defy and other split programmable keyboards for years, it shocked me how much I had to constantly move my hand to reach for the symbols and especially for the arrows, because on my keyboard normally I have them in another layer here under ESDF, so I just press my layer, change and do that.
And I guess even if this was fully programmable, I think you'd still probably miss the thumb keys.
Yeah, of course, there are many other things that make it worth spending 10 times more, like having a full split, or the thumb keys, or being able to choose the tenting angle, or the palm pads, or being hot swappable, or having shine-through keycaps, the aluminum body, the sound. I could go on forever.
Okay, you clearly love your Defy. So, the question may be, would you recommend this keyboard, the cheapest ergonomic keyboard, to someone who wants to try an ergonomic keyboard for the first time? And also, how does this compare to other ergonomic keyboards that are a bit more expensive but are still less than $100, such as other Perixx boards like the wireless version of the one that you've just tested? It costs $50. The Logitech K860, which is wireless and has some programmable keys, that's $80 to $100. The Xbox Lite, which is wired, columnar, has mechanical switches, but not hot swappable, and can be programmed. You can get that for $60 to $90. The Keychron K15 or V8, which are wireless, programmable, and have hot swappable mechanical switches, they cost around $100.
I must say it depends a lot on what keyboard you're coming from. and what you value from a keyboard. For example, if you're already using a traditional membrane keyboard like the one that you would imagine in any office, then you will feel right at home with this Perixx board. The keys will feel very similar and you will appreciate all the ergonomic features. This keyboard is better than a standard membrane keyboard in every single way, and I would recommend this or the wireless version of this keyboard all day long. But let's say that you usually type on your laptop or on an Apple Magic Keyboard. Then maybe this keyboard would feel like a downgrade. You might not like the feel of the keys or the added height. In that case, I might recommend a different keyboard, like the Logitech K860. Here, let's move this over here. It's got tenting, palm rests, and especially the main difference is that this has chiclet switches. So the travel distance is much shorter.
Similar to a laptop.
Yeah, or to the Apple Magic Keyboard. So if you're coming from that, I would say this keyboard would feel more natural or a better transition than that one. On top of that, this one is wireless, while this one is wired, but it costs between $90 or $100. The Logitech also has reverse tilting, like you mentioned before, and it has a sleek design, which is something that you might value.
Another scenario is that you already own a mechanical keyboard. In that case, you would probably want to choose keyboard with mechanical switches. The Xbox Lite has a columnar layout, which is considered more ergonomic, but it requires quite some time to get used to. Plus, it's not hot swappable and it's wired, if wireless is important to you.
On the other hand, the Keychron K15 Max or the V8 have a split layout, Alice to be precise, and are wireless and hot swappable. The K15, which is this one, uses low profile switches, while the V8 uses normal MX switches, which are taller.
All three that we've just mentioned are programmable to some extent, although not as much as fully programmable keyboards like the Dygma Defy or the Dygma Race 2. You can do basic key remapping, but advanced features like dual function keys or the number of layers are limited.
However, none of these three mechanical keyboards that we just mentioned have tenting or palm rests, and also I would say most crucially, the split is narrower, like the sides of the layout are closer together, which makes you, place your hands too close together, so they are not as comfortable as this keyboard here, the Perixx or the Logitech that we showed before. So from a pure ergonomic standpoint, I would choose this $35 ergonomic keyboard compared to this one exactly costs $104. So I would choose that one from a pure ergonomic standpoint because that one is more comfortable to type on, and that's the core of an ergonomic keyboard.
Of course, if you want to be one and done, we'd recommend one of our keyboards. The Dygma Defy if you want to go columnar, which, as we said, needs a bit of a transition.
Or the Dygma Race 2 if you want all the advanced ergonomic features with a familiar layout that you can start using right away.
Such as the fully split design, palm rests and palm pads, tenting up to 60 degrees, reverse tilting, full programmability, per key RGBW and underglow, multiple thumb keys, and hot swappable switches.
What did you think? Have you tried the cheapest ergonomic keyboard? Would you recommend it to someone starting their ergonomic journey? Or would you suggest spending more money and getting one of the Dygma keyboards?
And most importantly, would you like us to review other keyboards? Let us know in the comments below. See you in the next one!